WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. As my mom was getting older, she was so worried about dementia. She passed away a year ago, as most of you probably know that listen to this regularly. She never really did. She might have had a tiny little bit of it, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes you have to wonder, if maybe we are trying to self-diagnose and worried about things, and having worked in the healthcare for 3 years, which I took a break from radio about a dozen years ago or so, and spent 3 years working at an assisted living facility and got to know some people who clearly had some form of dementia. Sometimes absolutely it was Alzheimer's, although I think back in those days what they used to say is you can't really diagnose it until there's an autopsy.
Yeah.
But I think they've changed that, and of course I'm not in that field at all. But one of the things that I witnessed was the transition from slightly forgetful to very severely affected by Alzheimer's. And a couple of ladies as well around, because you were there with me. One lady in particular was a nurse, had accolades. I mean, she had been a super intelligent lady earlier in her life, and then at the end of her life, she literally, in the 3 years I was there, literally went from I don't know if normal is even the right word, but and everybody's always afraid to use the word normal, but it's a good word. She went from being normal, and then from being, and then as the Alzheimer's started to take its effect on her, she was transferred to the locked up area. What do they call it? Memory support.
Yes.
The memory support unit. And I'm not an expert at all, but I did see the family going through this terrible thing as well as she. I mean, she kind of knew she was going through it until eventually she kind of didn't, I guess. But her family really was affected by this. It was I remember the daughter that came in who the lady I'm referring to didn't remember.
Yeah.
It was so heartbreaking to see that. John Goetz is on the phone. John P. Goetz. He is on the phone to speak about his blog called My Three Moms. He's a magazine editor, a writer, a novelist, and of course he's got a long list of books, but we're speaking mostly about his blog, My Three Moms. It is about his mom's struggle with Alzheimer's disease. Good morning, John. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Robin. How are you this morning?
Pretty good. Where are you right now?
I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is 10 degrees here.
Well, we could rub it in a little bit. Let's see. I think it's going to be 80 today. No. I'm not really sure what. I'm just going to. Anyways, well, thank you for being on the air with us today. Where's your mom right now?
She is in Fargo, North Dakota, about 50 miles south of where we grew up, and she just graduated, if you want to use that word, to the memory care unit, which is, like you said, the locked up area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when you say my three moms, not that I knew this from my own family. That's why I brought up my own mom, by the way, just so you know, that my experience with this was somebody else's mom, if that makes sense. So the three personalities, what are the three personalities that you're seeing in your mom?
Well, it's, the one that gave birth to me. She was very intense, hardworking. Smoked like a chimney, loved her Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, drove, too fast going into the garage and would barely stop before.
Wow. She was a wild woman.
Yeah, she was. and then in '86, she had an aneurysm, and she was only supposed to, she had a 10% chance of living. And if she did live, the doctor said, well, she was going to be a vegetable. But she pulled through all that.
Wow.
But her personality changed, so she stopped smoking. She put on weight. Before, she was a very small, skinny woman. After her aneurysm, she stopped smoking. She put on weight. And this is funny because my dad always used to tell her that, she didn't need a bra, she just needed a Band-Aid.
Oh.
But after, she put on weight, and my dad gave her grief about now she needed a bra. And her personality changed. the aneurysm caused, she was a different woman. So that was mom number 2.
And give us a little bit more of an understanding of what she was like. Was she wasn't driving fast into the garage anymore?
Oh, no, she was calm. She kind of took things in stride. Mom number 1 was incredibly intense, worried about everything, worked, 27 hours a day. We grew up on a farm, so she was hauling meals out to the field and cooking meals, and she kept the farm going. Mom number 2, she was calm. She kind of took things, like I said, in stride. She still liked her Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh,
but,
good.
Yes.
You got to have an outlet.
Yes, but she could not stand the smell of cigarette smoke.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Wow.
And she didn't forget anything. The aneurysm didn't cause anything with her memory. She did have some rehab to do because she had to learn to write. But within a week or so, she had all that back. The only thing mom number 2 forgot was she used to make bread, and the recipe was never written down. It was her mother's recipe and her mother's recipe. That's gone. She has no idea how to make bread anymore.
Oh wow, it's strange. And do you know? I'm curious if in writing the blog you've had other people like relating to it, giving you their own stories.
After the fact, yes. And I had friends and family, read it after I published it, and they all said, that is your mom. A lot of people did not know my mom's real name. Her name was, everyone called her Squirt, because she was kind of small.
Oh, wow.
She was the fastest girl on her high school basketball team. And my uncle, her brother, gave her that name, and it stuck. So she was Squirt to everyone. And to my cousin, she was Auntie Squirt. So a lot of people didn't know her name. So I got notes on my blog and on Facebook saying, that's Squirt to a T. We miss her. Wish her well. Hope she's doing okay.
You also delve into the political realm of Obamacare.
Yes. With my book, novel called The Protocol, I talk that the basis is Obamacare. It's the Affordable Care Act. It's not a political novel. It's maybe a political/medical thriller. And it's about death panels and about the government deciding whether or not a person lives or dies based on their ROI. And in my case, if the protocol were to come true, my mother probably would have been euthanized by the government.
Euthanized, not just allowed to die, but actually euthanized, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. That's the premise of the book.
Wow, it doesn't seem so far-fetched. I mean,
No.
it is crazy the world that we're changing into, or the country we're changing into.
Because it seems like a lot of the assisted care living facilities now, even though most are privately run, sometimes they go for government grants and things like that, and they won't get the grants if they don't adhere to the government rules.
And that I have found that to be true. And it's the Affordable Care Act has probably already made a financial hit to my family, in that some of the services that my mom would get, like physical therapy, those are being discontinued.
Oh my.
So we have a choice of either covering it ourselves, which we probably will, or not doing it. So that comes down to what the new law is doing in budget cuts and funding, and whether or not doctors get reimbursed what they should. And the independent payment advisory boards, or death panels, they control the costs and what doctors get reimbursed. So that's the reality of the law. And in the fiction part is that the death panels decide whether or not you live or die.
Wow. Where's your dad right now? Is he?
My dad died of cancer back in 1990.
Oh, okay. So he's been around a while. I'm looking at your blog right now. It's kind of touching. We can relate to it. I mean, we've got all everybody has wedding photos of their parents that look like these wedding photos. If you're our age, you must be about our age. We're knocking on 60. How old are you?
I just turned 50 2 weeks ago.
Oh, 50. Okay.
There you go.
So one of the things that I remember when I worked at the assisted living facility that I thought was odd, there was a lady in there who was, I can't remember if she was speaking German or speaking in a German accent. And the family said she never did that. And if it was speaking German, that's even weirder.
Yeah. Yes, my mom hasn't done that yet. We have quarterly calls with the staff at the assisted living center, and I talk to her, at least twice a week. So she hasn't gotten to the stage where she doesn't remember the kids. And I can call her and I can say, "Do you know who this is?" "Oh yeah, that's my baby," because I'm the baby. And but what she doesn't like is someone to interrupt her Price is Right. She loves Drew Carey on the Price is Right. And the nurses have said, we just know not to bother Helen from 9 to 10 or 10 to 11, whenever the Price is Right is on, because she gets mad at us.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
And that's basically one of the things that's all she has. So why should they intentionally disrupt something like that when she enjoys it?
Yeah. It's the Price is Right and the Vikings football team. Just
there you
leave
go.
her alone whenever that's on. Leave her alone.
So the lady I was referring to earlier, the nurse who went from being normal to having severe Alzheimer's, she loved dirty jokes. It's kind of funny to say that because she was a sweet lady, and when she was normal, she would tell me the dirty jokes. Mm-hmm. And so I learned some from her that I could share with you. But anyway, so when I saw her one time in the the locked up place again, the memory support unit, she was screaming with her arm raised as high in the air as she could raise it. And I said, "Ruth, what's the matter? What's the matter?" And it's okay to say her first name, I guess. She's passed away since then, and it's been a dozen years or more. Mm-hmm. But the nurses there, the workers, they said, "Larry, don't even bother. We can't get through to her. Nothing's getting through to her." Well, she was in a wheelchair with her arm up in the air, screaming, just one note, just doing that, but loud. And I got down close to her and I said, "Ruth, I heard a dirty joke. You want to hear it?" And she stopped. And she put her arm down and she waited for the joke. And I told her a joke. Could have even been one she told me earlier. I don't remember. But I told her this joke, and then she laughed, and the workers were like, "What did you do?" I said, "I told her a joke. That's what she used to love, was telling jokes." Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, it wasn't a cure. I mean, she went right back to screaming and putting her arm up in the air. But as amateur observers of psychology, I guess, it's interesting to see these things. I don't know that I understand it, but...
Well, we just had a conference call with the staff, and my mom is kind of shaky when she walks, and we want her to use a walker, but she won't. She doesn't understand why she's with all these old people.
Yeah.
So we told the staff, well, maybe we can talk to her and tell her that she has to use it. And they said, that doesn't work. She may agree with you for the 30 seconds you're talking to her, but when you don't have short-term memory, she doesn't remember the conversation, and therefore she won't remember having to use the walker. It's not an issue.
How many siblings do you have?
There's 5 of us.
So how is this affecting all of you? I mean, you're seeing Mom like this. It must be heartbreaking.
It is, but we're very close. So we're all in this together. We all, we all take care of her. Well, as best we can, because we can't individually take care of her. We don't have the know-how. Yeah. But we all, visit her and call her. We're constantly, sending her gifts and just keeping her active and knowing that her kids still love her, regardless. You are a very super writer, by the way. Thank you. And so eclectic in your writing. It's not like, it's almost like you could probably put a couple different names on your writing and nobody would even know it was you. You're able to. You know who couldn't do that is who was the guy? Richard Bachman. What was his real name?
Stephen King.
Stephen King was Richard Bachman.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it was Stephen King.
Right.
Yep.
So, but I think you'd get away with it if you tried. I think you could probably write in another style or something. Do you did your mom witness your success before she started fading?
No, but she has my books. Every resident has a little a window box outside their room, and she has my books in her window box.
Oh,
so
wow.
She sees that, and she saw in the dedication of the protocol, I wrote, let me get it out here. It says, "This is to you, Mom. You'll always be on the highest pedestal of my heart. And she read that, and she said, "You wrote that?" And I said, "Yep." And then she started to cry.
Oh,
Hey,
good.
we're making us cry.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. All right, so the book is called The Protocol, and maybe we should focus on that a little bit. I feel like it would be interesting for our listeners as well as fair to you. I mean, obviously, you're putting a lot of work into the books, and hey, you said it wasn't political, but it's making a big political statement.
Yes, it is. But I that kind of happened by not maybe by mistake, but hopefully by design. Because I wrote the book, I finished the first draft in 2011. The law, President Obama signed the law in 2010. The Supreme Court upheld it in 2012, and then it was published in 2012. So the timing has been perfect. And it has to do with the government defining whether or not someone lives or dies based on their perceived value. And, the death panels are independent payment advisory boards is what they're called in the law. They do exist, and their role is to manage and define health care. And I took it to the extreme in the book. And they're not only defining the health care, but who gets what, when, and when death's door opens for you.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. The whole euthanasia part of that is unthinkable, but not necessarily impossible. It's possible. It's very possible. I mean, we've heard horror stories. Let's see. Before we were arguing about this whole healthcare thing, we would talk about other countries, and I remember my dad telling me that he met somebody. Was it from Sweden? I can't remember. It was that my dad passed away 5 years ago, so it's been at least 6 years ago that he told me this. And the guy in Sweden, and I might have the wrong country, but he would come to the United States because he was 65 or 70 years old, and they pretty much looked at his condition as, well, you were already there. There's not really a whole lot we can do for you.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to live much longer anyway. And so he wasn't able to really get the health care he needed. So he came over here, and now we're starting to go in that direction. Not that they would have euthanized him, but that they would just have let him die.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. I had a book reviewer in Great Britain send me a note, and it's on the reviews on Amazon. He said, "This should be required reading for every American because it's exactly where you guys are headed." And I know because I'm in Great Britain, and that was heart-stopping to read that, and to know that things like that can exist and do happen. So.
And even up in Canada, I've got a sister-in-law that lives up there, and they are on waiting lists up there for different things. Even when a person gets pregnant, there is some kind of a waiting list they have to go on. And why why people, especially here, can't see that and they close their eyes to the bad parts. Your book really opens their eyes.
Yes, and the insurance company that I created in the book is called Equalis Health, and their guidelines are, to make people wait. Make them wait as long as possible so maybe they die before they need that MRI or before they need that hip replacement.
Right, exactly.
Oh, man. John P. Goetz is our guest. Am I pronouncing your last name right, John? I hope I am.
Yeah, you are, Larry. That's good.
And it says here you're a ghostwriter. What does that mean? Does that mean you write and other people take credit for it?
Yes, and but in this case, I wrote a book. I worked with a 1980s hairband rocker. I was a drummer.
Oh.
And a very interesting guy up here in Minneapolis, and he asked me to work with him on this book. And I'm listed as I'm technically the ghostwriter because on the cover it has his name, but on the inside page it says by John P. Goetz. So that was all marketing for him. And it's called Life is Short and You're Dead Forever. And he has some interesting points of view about how to live. And his stories are rather interesting about his life on the road in 1980s and the drugs and alcohol.
Do we know him? Is this somebody?
I don't know. He was a stage drummer, so he was never listed as a member of the band. And by some contractual issues, he can't say what band in print.
Oh,
Not say what
okay.
band he was, so I wouldn't want to say. I know which one it is.
REO Speedwagon.
He tried to trip you up there, John.
Trying to think, who's from that part of the country? Who's from up there?
Well, you really have to keep your life in balance then, because you can't really come to any conclusions about anything, because that way you wouldn't allow the people to make up their own minds. So what you're doing with your blog is very, very touching. It's very beneficial to others. And with your book, The Protocol, because people seem to embrace things more if they come across it on their own and it seems like it's their idea.
Yeah. And it has taken off, and it's been the best praise I've gotten is that, and it's my favorite author, Dean Koontz, is that if you like Koontz, you like Goetz. So
that's wonderful.
That made me feel really good when I got that review.
Oh, I saw that. That's actually from him. We've had him on the show, and if you could tell him to please come back. Let me tell you what happened. I made a mistake. He used to be on all the time, and then he sent us a book, and he's in somebody's backyard sitting on these gigantic metallic looking balls. So I said to him, "Whose balls are you sitting on the back of the book?" And then he got quiet. And we haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
I meant nothing by it.
It was just for a laugh.
It's just, I do a radio show, and that's all I am. So, so if you could just tell him, that show you used to be on in Ocala, they want you back. John, you are really good. I really loved reading what I read, and I'm looking forward to reading more. The blog is touching, and it is very different from other things you've written. For the listeners, go to the website. Everything is there. JohnPGoetz.com, and he spells his last name Goetz. Goetz.
That's correct.
And you don't use people as the butt of your jokes or the butt of an argument. You just have the facts right there, and you just make sure that everything is put out there, because you have to be hurting in some ways, loving your mom so much, seeing her go through this, but then you also have that huge responsibility of being the support for others, emotional support that has to weigh on you.
It does, and I try to keep positive about everything, and the writing really helps me in that I can kind of get lost in my imagination. I can get the words out. And the blogs are kind of the opposite of my books, and I just kind of let my emotions drain out on the blogs, whereas my books are fantasy land for me.
Wow, I think The Protocol is going to prove to be an important book.
Yes.
As well as an entertaining book. I think it's going to be important. The Protocol is the name of the novel. Some live, some die. John P. Goetz is the author. Check out his blog as well. You've got more than one blog.
I have several posts. The blog you can get from my website, just johnpgoetz.com, and then click on the little link up there for the blog. And I have probably 8 different posts right now, basically of life, growing up in North Dakota and different personalities. But the one that has been the most receptive and has gone viral is called My Three Moms, and it's about my mom's struggle with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and I can see why. A lot of people are struggling with it as well, and they're relating to it, John. Do you celebrate Christmas?
Yes, I do.
Well, then, Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for being on the air with us. Definitely come back anytime you're ready, and I hope everything goes well for you.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Thank you, Robin.
All right, great interview. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
With Disney annual passes, your family can experience magical holidays and excitement at all 4 Disney parks over and over again. And while lots of Florida residents are enjoying the magic year-round using the monthly payment program, you could win your passes from WOCA The Source. Enter now for your chance to win at WOCA.com and tune in every day for your cue to call in and enter to win 4 annual passes to Walt Disney World. Daily prizes include $50 Disney gift cards. So log on, tune in, and win from WOCA The Source.
On December 21st, join us for the WOCA Jingle Ball, an evening at the Appleton Museum. From 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., come enjoy the beautiful collection of colorful trees, nutcrackers, and countless decorations throughout the Appleton Museum. Musicians from the Ocala Symphony Orchestra will be performing throughout the first floor exhibits, while you are enjoying holiday entertainment and culinary delights. Your donation will help provide Marion County children the opportunity to experience the magic of Christmas on Christmas Day through Ocala's Operation Feed 100 program. A limited amount of tickets will be available, so for more information and to purchase your tickets, go to WOCA.com and click on the Jingle Ball link.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala!
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. The 2 winning tickets to the Mega Millions lottery were sold in Atlanta and San Jose, California. But even if you didn't buy them, check your ticket anyway. Lottery officials say 20 people got 5 numbers, which will win them $1 million each. Cruise line officials knew about the risk of engine problems